Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're going to let everyone just take a couple of minutes to connect to audio and video. Happy to see you all wherever you are calling in from. So to get started, what we normally do is if everyone can open the chat box and if you can kind of just write in where you're calling in from. It's just fun to know where everyone is around the world. And then if you can let us know if you have ever traveled with your family before. So if you can write that in the chat box, this is just a great way for us all to get to know each other a little bit better before we get started. So my name is Laura. I am the San Diego chapter leader and one of the TNN virtual event hosts. And I'm super passionate about this particular presentation with Anna because I am also a family travel blogger with Travel 80 by 80. So this is super near and dear to my heart. So I can't wait to hear everything that she's going to share with us today. So before we get started, I am going to quickly share my screen and just share with you some things about the Nomadic Network, in case those of you that are new aren't so familiar with it. So the Nomadic Network, otherwise known as TNN, was founded by Nomadic Matt. He founded this in 2019. So far, we've hosted over 250 virtual events. Probably about a year and a half ago, we were back to hosting in-person events. Hopefully, some of you have been to some of them. If not, there's always one probably in a city near you. And you probably all have already been on our website since you signed up for this event, but you can find it at thenomadicnetwork.com. That's just some photos of all the different people that we have had a chance to meet with around the world. So it's been a great way to just connect with other travelers. And then in order to join TNN, you can find us on Instagram, on TikTok. You can register, obviously, for the virtual events like you did so for today, all of our in-person events. We now started offering group tours, which I'm sure you've heard us talk about, but they are happening all over the world, which is amazing. So if you've ever wanted to go on a group tour, this is the way to do it. And then just a couple of reminders. I see so many of you guys with your videos on. This is amazing. I love this. This makes it so much more fun just to see you all and get to connect this way. But I'm going to keep everyone muted just so we can make sure we hear our speaker for today. But I know everyone loves to use that chat box and chat that way, so please do so. But if you have a question, if you can just write the word question first, that way I can keep track and then just obviously jot down your question after that. I'll keep track of everything, and that way we can get your questions answered at the end of the call. And just know that our speakers do this out of the kindness of their heart. And so we really appreciate Anna for being here today and giving us her time and her expertise on the subject matter. So without further ado, I am super excited to introduce Anna Ruiz. So she is a certified family travel coach, a travel writer, a creator, a speaker, and an online business owner. She's been traveling the world with her little ones for probably about 4 years now. And she now teaches and helps other parents how to do it too. And she's recently come back from a 10-month trip, and it took her from the Galapagos Islands all the way to the Merzouga Desert. And yes, this has all been with kids, which is amazing. And she's here to tell us how to do it. So Anna, I will let you take it over from here. And I'm excited.
Me too. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I am so honored to have been invited and to be meeting all of you. I've been browsing through some of the comments, and I see some of you have traveled with kids. I saw a comment of a soon-to-be mama who's wanting to continue to travel. So I hope this presentation gives you some insight, some light, and yes, more travel into your life. Thank you so much, Laura, for the introduction. You basically covered everything that I wanted to say at the beginning. Yes, my name is Ana. I am very Ecuadorian. I was born in Ecuador, but I've been living in California for almost 13 years. And yep, I've been traveling with my kids for almost 5 years now because my daughter's going to be 5. And I'm going to be sharing my screen with you in a little bit because I have some fun photos and anecdotes to share with you. So before I do that, I want to give you a little brief of everything that we're going to go over. First, I'm going to be sharing some basic information and tips for first-time family travelers. I think many of you are going to benefit from that information. And we are going to go into long-term family travel, which I think is something that interests many of you. Many of you probably dream about being nomads. And I deeply believe that that life is possible with kids too. So I'm going to be sharing about this trip that I had with my family, how we made it possible, the struggles that we had, the benefits that we had, and what are steps that you can start taking right now if this is something that you also want to do. So with that introduction, I'm going to be sharing my screen. I usually do my presentations without them, but I thought it would be really fun to see some photos. And so you get to see some of that good stuff too. So here I go. Okay, perfect. So this is me and this is my family. It's my husband, Luis. I travel with him. He goes with us everywhere we go. And these are my two kids. Now I'm a mom of two. This is my daughter, Nala. And this is my baby boy, Luca. So this is the mom that you see now. This is the mom that you see on Instagram. This is the crazy travel mama that's traveling with her kids, the creator, and the mom that is helping other moms do it. But this wasn't always me. This was me too. In 2018, I was approximately 6 months pregnant, and I was convinced this was going to be my last trip ever. Like, I begged my husband for us to go on a baby moon because everyone kept telling us, finally, you're going to stop asking for vacations. Finally, you're going to settle. And I believed it. I thought, okay, this is the last chance I get to really explore the world. So here I am. We took about a week trip to Mexico, and I was very happy about the new things that were entering my life, but I was also very sad and scared because I didn't know how life was going to be afterwards. And I'm sure many moms can relate to this because many things change when you become a mom, not only travel. And it was very scary for me. So even though it was a very exciting moment for me, it was also expecting some like sad things to happen as well. It didn't even cross my mind to travel with kids because no one really had done it around me. I didn't have sisters who had done it. I didn't have friends who had done it. And it pretty much sounded very crazy to me. Until I did. This is me and my daughter Nala at 3 months old. We boarded our very first flight.
Wait,
I did not prepare for.
Can I interrupt real quick? I think we're not seeing your slides move through. Have you been moving them through?
I have. Where are you right now?
We're on the first one, and it might just be, I'm not sure why. So just maybe click the arrow on the bottom and see. Sorry to interrupt, but I know I just wanted to make sure.
No. We want to make sure everything.
Let me stop
sharing. Let me start sharing again. Well, thank you
Okay.
for letting me know. I'm like talking and sharing my pregnant photos and no one can see them.
So I'm going to answer Nick's question while you're figuring this out. So, hi, Nick. I saw you have a question about, does somebody have experience traveling with 4 kids? So I have 2 kids. I know Anna has 2 kids as well. But there are so many people on Instagram that you can find that travel with 4 kids or 6 kids, and not a problem. You can easily do it. I think once you're on the road with 1 or 2, it's kind of the same. And you got it. All right. So let's take it over.
Can everyone see this? Can everyone see the pregnant Anna?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to mute and it's all you again.
Okay. Well, I already talked about all of this, but this is me, 6 months pregnant. I thought it was going to be my last trip ever. I was very excited, but I was also super terrified. And then, of course, I was like, who would dare travel with kids, right? And then I did, like 3 months in, and there's something I cannot explain. I was thinking, when Nala is born and we want to take a trip, of course, my mom is going to watch her, right? But then I had her in my arms and it was like, oh, you know what? I think my screen is paused again. No, can you see this?
I can only see the photo of you pregnant.
Yes.
Everyone, chat amongst yourself in the chat box. Actually, let's ask. Okay, I'm going to ask a question in the chat for you all to answer. So I am curious, where would be a trip that you would be most nervous about taking your kids? So put that in the question, and then we'll put that in the chat box, and then let's see if anyone has been to that place. I think that'd be really interesting. Asia. Ooh, Asia's a great one to take your kids to. Okay, perfect. I'm going to open this and then see if I can share it for all of you guys. So hold on. Okay, so this is fine. So just so everyone knows, normally how these happen is I can follow the chat box along in case there's anything, but if I'm screen sharing my screen, I won't be able to. So just bear with me if there's anything that you ask me. We can get to it at the end. Okay, so let me go ahead and I am going to share my screen and let's see if this works. Okay, we got it. All right,
Perfect.
Take 5. Here we go.
Third try, guys. Yep, so that is me and baby Nala. We took our very first plane and our very first trip to Ecuador, where I am from. It was a very short trip, but it was a trip that changed everything for me because I knew I didn't have to have everything figured out. I was still scared. I imagined my baby was going to cry the entire plane ride, which didn't end up happening. But what it did for me is that it showed me that I was able to do it. And, you know, that's just basically the trigger that I needed. From there on, we can move on to the next slide. This is almost 5 years and 35 plus flights later. So imagine if I hadn't taken that first super scary flight with Nala, we wouldn't have been able to do all of this. I almost can't believe this is the same girl. We can do next slide. Life has changed a lot since that first flight. Not only have I traveled more than I ever traveled when I was single or when I didn't have kids, I've had some of my wildest adventures ever. Laura mentioned some of this already. I slept at Mersuga Desert with my kids. I snorkeled with sea lions in the Galapagos Islands, and Nala was in the water with me as I was doing it. I've started a business inspired by family travel. As you also know, I am a certified family travel coach. So I help women in this, just breaking these barriers. Yes, we talk about all the logistics and what to pack and all of this, but I mainly focus on how to work with your fears and do like the crazy things that your heart is telling you to do, even after having kids. And I wouldn't have been able to do this if I hadn't done it myself. So thanks to all of this, thanks to that trip, I'm also here talking with you, struggling with the Zoom, and it's just like sharing travel with all of you who are travel lovers just like me. So is it possible to travel with kids? So as you can see, I've done it. So my answer is yes, it is possible, but only if you want it to be. There's many moms who don't want to travel with kids, but if you believe that you want to, and if you believe you can do it, there's absolutely no reason why you can't. So starting with that, with the passion, with the fuel, once you got that, everything else is just logistics. So this is going to be the part where I tell you some of the things that are going to help you make family travel a little easier for you. Because no, it's not easy. It's not as easy as traveling alone, but there are specific things that you can do to make this a fun experience, an experience that you enjoy, an experience that you want to repeat. So here are some tips for you. So the first one, start slow. Even if you are an experienced traveler, like if you've traveled a lot on your own or with your partner, traveling with kids is very different. So if you want to do it, I always suggest start slow. Don't go plan like a 15 vacation to Nepal or something like that. Do a day trip somewhere. Becoming a mom is a learning experience. There's so many things you don't know as a new mom, and then you add travel on top of that. So stretch your comfort zone little by little. If you want to take a day trip somewhere, maybe spend one night outside of your home and test that out, see how you feel, and then start, increasing your experience from there. Try 5 days, then go 15 days, maybe do a short flight, and then just like keep expanding. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, embrace the changes that come with family travel. There are a couple of things that are going to be different. We're going to be talking about a couple of them in here, but accepting that the experience that you have won't be the same as when you traveled in the past is super important. When you come with this mindset that the experience is going to be different, and because it will be different, that doesn't mean it won't be enjoyable. It's going to help you. It's going to help you figure things out with your clear head, and things are just going to be more fun for you. So think about tip number 3. Think about activities that involve the whole family. And there's a couple of things that I want to touch on about this. So this includes, first, thinking about things that your kids will enjoy, but that doesn't necessarily mean always going to the pool or always going to the beach or the resort and the all-inclusive things. Like sometimes our limited heads think that these are the only things kids can possibly enjoy. So start with that. Think about activities that, yes, can be enjoyed by kids, but don't put them in a box. Examples of activities could be as simple as going to a park or going to a plaza where they can chase pigeons. When we travel alone, we are focused on our enjoyment, on the activities that we want to do. And when you travel with kids, things change a little bit. The more fun you have as a family, the better the trip will be for everyone. And yes, you can definitely still have adventures with your kids. Like I just said, I snorkeled in the Galapagos where sharks were down below, and my daughter was there with me. So I didn't put any limitations. As long as it's safe for you, it's most likely that's going to be safe for your kids as well. So there was that. And then next one is keep your travel pace a little slower. When I travel with my husband, because we had so much limited time, we were just from place to place to place to place. Like our feet were falling off at the end of the night. We were exhausted, but we didn't care. We were doing it on our own. But when you move with kids, not only do you need to preserve your energy a lot more, things happen in the middle that are gonna kind of force you to slow down. You may need to grab some snacks. You may need diaper changes. You may actually have accidents. I remember when Nala was about 16 months old, we were in Paris and she had an accident on her diaper. Everything, her socks, her pants, everything had to disappear, and it pushed us back. We had to go find a store to find a new set of pants, and it's just part of the experience. But if you give yourself enough cushion, instead of filling up your day and you have 3 activities spread out, you're gonna feel better. It's gonna be more fun to wake up the next day. You won't feel as exhausted, and like I said, you're gonna preserve a lot of energy. So next tip, travel light. And I know that may be easier said than done, but traveling light when you are traveling with kids is super helpful because it's literally less stuff that you have to carry, because now not only do you carry luggage, you also carry kids. And when they're very little, that's not something that you can just like ask to be like, can you carry yourself? So traveling light is very helpful, and the benefit is that kids stuff is very small, and habits that can help you travel light can be like doing laundry when you're traveling. That's something that we always do. That's why we prefer doing Airbnb stays, because we can wash our clothes. Sometimes if we're doing long trips, we carry stuff like for 7 days, then we wash. We don't care about using the same stuff, but we travel super light. Actually, on this 10-month trip that I took that I'm going to be sharing with you, we had carry-ons only. 10 months, same clothes. We even like we're leaving stuff because like we don't need this anymore. Like if we wanted to buy something, we would get rid of something. So traveling light is super essential. There may be one more. Oh, it looks like there's two more. Yeah, give priority to rest. And this kind of goes to the pace yourself. A good example would be if you're doing an intense activity. Let's say you're at the Galapagos Islands and you are hiking for most of the day, and you had to wake up early for this activity on one day. Maybe the next day, don't pile up another activity. Start your day a little later. Balance out everything that you do. The more rested you are, the better mood that you're in. And this is like for life. Anyone who's a mom, like think about the days when you are super tired. How are you responding to your kids? How are you responding to work? You are probably not in the best mood. So when you travel, there's no need to not do the same. So prioritize rest, especially for you, but also for your kids. Mind you, kids are also able to take naps while you're on the go. So this is something that I'm just throwing in there. You don't have to go back to your Airbnb if they need to nap, but make sure they're getting some rest while you're traveling. Last one, plan, like with the tips that I'm giving you right now, planning helps to get an idea of what to expect. But keep in mind that just like travel, I think all of us are travelers, and we know that unexpected things happen all the time. And as long as you learn to go with the flow, it is going to be a lot easier for you to resolve things without the stress and without all of that. So that's something that I would love for you to take with you while you are traveling with kids. So that was the logistics part. Let's move on to the long-term family travel, the good stuff, how we did it and how our experience was. So I'm going to start by saying, because this is a question that I still receive a lot, how was it even possible for you? So I want to start by saying a couple of things that worked in our favor to make this trip happen. So first, we had a lot of experience traveling. When we left, my daughter Nala was about 3.5, and Luca was 8 months old. So he was a baby, but I already consider myself a pro traveling with baby. Like it was a joke. After having traveled with Nala, like the second one, like you just add it on. So definitely worked in our favor that we had a lot of experience traveling. We hadn't traveled more than like 21 days in a row. We had never traveled long-term, but we had been in many planes. We had booked many trips. We knew how to do Airbnbs, take public transportation and all of that. So this helped a lot. So that's number one. Number two, very linked to number one, our kids were already used to travel. Luca had already been on a flight when he was 5 months old. We took him to Europe. So he had already been on like 10-hour flights. We had done road trips, and they were very used to airplanes and food on the go and all of that. So that was another thing that was very helpful. Number three, and this is something quite unique. I had a very unique house situation, which I know it's not the case for many people. But in the actual house that I'm living right now, before we left, we were living together with my parents. I always knew I wanted to travel long term, I didn't know when, I didn't know how, I just didn't know. I just knew that was something that I wanted to do. So we didn't want to commit to a year lease, to rent. So we didn't know when this trip was going to happen, but it definitely worked in our favor that we could just pause our house situation, tell my parents, we're doing this. I don't know when we're coming back, because we had no idea when we were coming back. Can you keep our stuff? And we just left. So that is super unique. And I know this is not the case for everyone, but maybe it can help you plan. If you're thinking about moving somewhere, maybe think about this. Like, do I want to move now? Do I want to travel before moving? Just keep those things in mind. Another thing, we had flexible jobs, and that doesn't mean that they were stable jobs. I was already doing online work. I auto-proclaim myself as an online entrepreneur. So I already knew I didn't have to go ask permission to go travel. And my husband was doing commission work, selling solar panels. So it was very easy for us to just say bye for a little bit. So it was very helpful. We had saved some money. This is something that I'm going to be touching on later on. It was definitely helpful to have this cushion, because it allowed us the freedom to not have a return date. We didn't have the pressure that it had to be 1 month, 2 months, because we had been saving some money. And then the last one, which is the most important one, and you can go to the next slide. We had fire in our butts. For me, all of the other things can be replaceable. You can have many other life situations, but the only thing required to do something like this is to have fire in your butts, fire in your hearts, and know that even though you don't have all the answers, this is something that you want to do, and the answers are going to come in the way. So definitely this was one of the definite factors for our trip. So let's talk a little bit about what the trip was. So on November 2021, we booked a one-way flight to Ecuador. We chose this destination because it's where we were born. We wanted the kids to spend time with family, and it just felt like home. So we decided that's the only thing we knew. We were going to Ecuador, and from there on, we had no idea what else we were going to do. So it was a total of 10 months on the road. Like I just said, we didn't have everything figured out, and we didn't know how long this trip was going to last when we left. But it was truly one of the biggest adventures of our lives. And we ended up staying 5 months in Ecuador. We visited Brazil, and we stayed there for 3 months, basically till like legally we could stay. Like literally, we left on the 3-month mark. Then we went to Spain in the middle of summer, which was the most expensive time to go. And I'll tell you like how things align, and I just feel magical things happen when you do crazy stuff like this. And we finished our trip in Morocco. So it was like a month and a half or so in Morocco. And then we came home. After that, while we were in Morocco, we realized, okay, I think it's time to come back. So that was the summary of the trip, and it was fantastic. So how were we able to stay on the road for 10 months, which is almost a year? It's less than what I would have wanted to, but like if you put that in perspective, it's a lot of time. There's people who wish about traveling this length of time, and they can only dream about it. So right now I'm going to tell you how we made it possible so you can do it too. So this is something I talked about earlier. Savings was definitely something that brought comfort. Every time we thought about traveling for so long, we knew we had savings. We knew we were not going to struggle financially. The moment you start struggling, travel tends to not be as fun anymore. So for us, it was very important to have savings. And these were savings that we saved from our previous jobs. I used to work as a general manager, working in a restaurant, working 10-hour days for a very long time. And I was able to save a lot of money that I didn't know what it was going to be for. I just saved it. Many people use this money to buy houses. But for me, I didn't want a house. I wanted to travel. So for me, it was like the best choice to do. My husband had some saved money, so it was definitely a big piece of the puzzle. The second thing is that we chose, I put family-friendly destinations, but you know what I meant? I meant budget-friendly destinations, now that I see this. If you notice, all of the countries that we visited were countries where life is less expensive, as in the US. So we knew our money was gonna last longer than if we were here paying rent and health insurance and just food. Ecuador is a very cheap country. Brazil is cheaper than the US. Spain was kind of the little exception, but it was still cheaper than life here in California. And then Morocco, which was also a very cheap destination. So super important. If we had been in New Zealand, Australia, or in the US with the same budget, we probably wouldn't have been able to be on the road for 10 full months. So that helped a lot. We stayed with family and friends, and this is something that probably doesn't get talked about enough. And it was so helpful for us, especially in Ecuador. We had the big benefit that we are Ecuadorians. We had family in Ecuador. We stayed with my husband's family. Then we stayed at a hostel that a friend owns for a reduced price. I think the only time we paid for accommodation during our 5-month stay in Ecuador was when we went to the Galapagos Islands. So I'm sure many of you have family and friends that live in many places around the world. Or hey, like here in this network, like there are so many people that that can probably host you. Like every time someone comes and visits me, I feel I'm on vacation too. Like I get to travel, I get to take them, even though I'm taking them to places I've already been to. It's an incredible opportunity to travel. So something else I wanted to say about the last point. When we were in Spain, we went on the most expensive time of the year. And because things aligned perfectly, a friend of us, she has a brother that was like, their family was leaving to Brazil for like a month or so, and they said, you can stay in our house. So we ended up staying like for free, and we saved like $3,000 in accommodation just by deciding to stay with some friends. So there's definitely things you can do in that area that will help you stretch your travel. And the last thing is we started generating income online. It was definitely not an amount to help us stay on the road longer, but it definitely stretched out the budget. It basically reduced how fast our savings were going. So this is something that not many people are interested in doing, but it was something that definitely helped us a lot, especially me. My husband is not too much into the online world, but I very much am. So those are the things. Now, let's talk about the struggles that we found by traveling long-term, because even though, yes, for me, there's a ton more benefits than struggles, there were some things that were a little difficult. So here are some of them. The uncertainty. We did not plan very far in advance. So there were definitely moments where we were like, should we go back? What should we do? When we were in Brazil and our time was running out, we were like, where do we go? Like, we need to leave. Should we go to like Argentina? It's freezing cold. It's in the middle of winter. Should we go to Europe? It's super expensive. So this uncertainty definitely felt stressful at times. But I think we managed it very well. So that was one thing. Wanting our space and our things. As you know, we traveled out of our carry-ons for a very long time. We wore the same clothes over and over again. And I think at some point also, especially Nala, was like, I miss my toys. And I kind of wish I had a closet, like a nice closet where I can put my things. I miss my boots, things that were super heavy that I didn't bring with me. So that was another thing. Third one, I already talked a little bit about this, but we were definitely spending more than we were generating. And although we didn't let that just ruin our whole experience, at some point we were like, okay, like, what are we doing? Are we being irresponsible? But new opportunities came, new ways to save came, and I think we were able to also manage that as well. This was a hard one for me because I was working online, finding the balance between work, travel, and family life. It's kind of hard to draw the line when you're traveling full time because it's a little different. When you take a vacation, you know, okay, I'm traveling, no one bother me. I don't want to know anything about work. My kids can eat junk all the time. I don't care. But like when you're traveling long term, it's like your life and your routines just get moved into a different location, but everything else stays the same. So finding the balance between being able to work, enjoying the travel, being the mom that my kids need me to be, and all of this was a little bit hard for me at times as well. Now let's move on to the benefits and everything that I still carry with me and that bring me so much light about this trip. It was a massive learning experience for our kids. This is one of the things that many family travelers will tell you. Just kids learn so much when they're out in the world. They learn so different. They like prepare their brains to absorb their environments many different ways. And I've seen this with Nala. She was speaking Portuguese. She was speaking, I can't remember. There's a language in the north of Spain. I can't remember right now. She was saying salam alaikum in Morocco. Like there's so many things that she was exposed to. And now that I see Luca, who like at some point had been in the world more than he had been at home, like I just see it, like the way he talks right now, he's not even 2, the way he just like feels free, walks anywhere, is not scared to be around people. There's so many experiences that my kids got to live thanks to this trip. Time to immerse ourselves. We were not in a rush when we travel during short periods of time. We usually are like just covering the surface of places, and this really gave us the opportunity to immerse ourselves, to eat new things, to hear the music, to see the different ways people behave, make new friends. It was definitely more immersive. Number 3, a little bit related to the other one, it's the first time that we actually got to enjoy the slow travel. And after this, I don't ever want to travel the other way again. Like I'd rather go to one place and really be in that place. And I feel that I learned this thanks to this trip. And probably one of my favorite ones, it was just a magical time to spend as a family. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I cry when I think about this trip. Like I remember certain things that only us know. There's no one else knows. Like I remember things and I can tell my husband or I can tell my daughter, and there's no way of sharing that via reels, via a photo. They're just some treasures that I will always carry with me from this beautiful time that I had with my little ones. And I just can't wait to do it all over again. It was just a very, very happy time for me. So yeah, there is not a day I don't think about doing it all over again. And I'm again in that position where I don't know when, I don't know how, but it is happening for us because it's something that I deeply wish and desire. And it's not like my mind wishing, it's my heart wishing it. And I know when you wish something that hard, just magic meets you. So I hope to be talking to you again when I'm like, I'm leaving again or something like that. So your next steps if this is something that you also want to try, definitely put intention behind your dreams. I think if you dream something so hard, maybe it's not even travel, maybe there's other things that you dream, but if you always keep them in your head and you just don't put intention, like, okay, what is something that I can do right now to bring me closer to that, your dreams are only going to stay dreams. So it's very important to put intention to it. Look at where you are now, as in take inventory. Okay, what is my current job like? What is my current situation with my kids' education? What is working? What is not? What are things that I can control right now that can bring me closer to what I want? What are things that I can change? What are things that I cannot? What are things that maybe I can change in the future? Take control. Don't be like, oh, this is just not possible for me, because just this is life. These are the things that I have to do. You can take the wheel and make decisions based on it. Third thing, start saving. This is definitely going to help you. Start saving. And that means look at your money. Sometimes we are like, oh, I don't have enough money to travel. But when you really start seeing how much is coming in and how much is coming out, then you know for sure if you can or cannot. But most of us just ignore it or don't even keep track of it. So start saving. Don't be scared to look at your money. Put it where you want it to go. Consider alternative education. And I know many of us just think different things about this, but it's a great alternative to have if you are going to have kids that are kind of school age. Just consider it. Am I willing to like have a gap year? Am I willing to try homeschooling? Do I want to try word schooling? I want to suggest not saying no just because you don't know or don't have the information. Research, talk to people already doing it, learn about these topics, and choose from a perspective of knowledge. So keep your options open. And lastly, which you probably already read, live your life from a place of possibilities. If you're always coming from a place of yes, great things can happen for me, yes, I can do this, the answers will come, positivism and possibilities can create wonders in your life. And yes, that includes traveling the world with your kids. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for dealing with all the tech problems we had. Thank you for hearing me talk for so long. Thank you for enjoying my presentation. And I can't wait to see if you had any questions. Make sure to follow at Manos Viajeros, which is where we share all of our fun travel stuff.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. And I will put into the chat box all of your contact information so everyone can follow you there. Incredible. I hope all of you were inspired, because it is just incredible to travel with your kids. And I love that you started at such a young age with them. And I can only imagine where it's going to take you from here. I know it will. So, okay. So I have two questions before I start looking in the chat box. And if you haven't dropped a question in, feel free to do that and I will, we'll get it answered for you. But okay. So my first question is, when you started off, I know you didn't really have a time frame in your mind on how long you were going to go, but did you have some idea like, oh, we want to go for at least 2 months, or there's no way we're going to go more than a year? Or was it just wherever it takes us?
To be honest, I always felt like I was the one, like if it was for me, we would probably still be traveling. Like I always knew my husband was the center one, like, okay, maybe we should start thinking about coming back. So to answer your question, we did not have a definite return day. First, we were like, okay, we left in November, right? So we were like, we have to make sure Luca's birthday spent with the family in Ecuador. So that was in March. So in my mind, I was like, okay, we'll see about that. Like I always knew, like, okay, I know the power this has. We'll see. We'll return in March, because I think we were gonna travel a little longer. So that's what ended up happening.
Okay, perfect. And then my next question is, what area do you think you'd want to go next? if you were to take another long-term travel?
I think we want to go to Asia, Southeast Asia. I think mainly because it's budget friendly, but also Nala has been talking about it a lot because she knows that when she was 8 months old, in no 8 weeks actually, 8 weeks in my belly, my husband and I went to Southeast Asia. And she knows we spend time with elephants, and we always joke like she was able to see everything through my belly button. So she's always had this curiosity about visiting Thailand. And she tells me all the time, next, I want to go to Asia. So I think that may be the destination.
I think that's amazing. And I think we've been to Asia with kids, and it's phenomenal. And so many people have that thing, kids live everywhere. So wherever you go, it's going to be amazing because kids live there and it's fine. And you can do it just how you do it here. You're just learning more things. So it's incredible. Okay. So we had a question on if you don't have your own home, for example, where do you live between trips if you're doing this long-term type of travel, or would you rent accommodations, or what would you recommend?
I would probably, like, if I don't have a home, I would consider that I don't have a home base. So basically, if I'm returning to the US, say I need to come, maybe I am diabetic. Let's say I need to come and like check my diabetes or something. I will probably rent a place out. In my particular case, I have family. I have my parents, so I can, like right now, I'm living in the same house that I left before going on this trip. But I would suggest renting, and I know probably in the US it's more expensive to rent. So that's what I would advise. I don't know, maybe short-term rentals. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. And I know it's going to be different for everyone based on where you are and what your needs are. But I think, yeah, that would probably make it easier. Okay, Erin, I like this question. So do you feel like your family and kids were missing out by not, having a home base to go to? Were they missing out on friends' birthday parties, milestones, or I guess like a sense of community by not going to a certain school? So what do you think about that?
I did not feel they were missing out at all, especially now that I am back home. The only thing I would say that they were missing out were on spending time with their grandparents, things like that, like the time that the family that stays, you cannot get that back, the years, the experiences with them. But I will never feel like my kids missed out on something. I will always feel like they gain so much. We gained, everything was a gain. We made friends, we have new friends, we have new languages, we have new possible houses to visit in the future, new birthdays to celebrate, just new memories. Everything was a gain for us. So to answer your question, no, I don't think, and I don't think it will change in the future. I don't know. I cannot guarantee. Right now, my daughter, and she's growing. I don't know if she's gonna have close friends, and then I'm gonna like take them apart. But at this point, I did not feel that way.
And I'll answer real quick too, because I have teens. And so I've seen it over the course of the years. Once you get them on the trip, they always remember the trip, and that's what's most important to them. So even if they're 1 to 4 or 15 to 18, yeah, maybe they'll miss things at home, but they always realize how phenomenal those trips were. So I think it spans the ages. So it's just travel. Like she said, just go, you got to do it.
I'm
Okay.
like disappearing.
Yeah.
Turn the light on.
Oh, you're fine. It's getting dark now. It's
There we
okay.
go.
So Christina had a question about struggling with kids' ages and different interests. So, it hasn't stopped her from traveling, but, she has a 17, a 10, and an 8-year-old. So how would you recommend planning trips for families that have kids at such a variety of different ages?
I wish I could give you like practical information, like things that I have tried. My kids are both very little still, so it's very easy. But I would say to make sure, like right now, all of your kids seem like they are in the age where they can choose something. I would be like, okay, maybe these are all the options. How about each of you chooses an activity, and that way all of them feel like, okay, we are all doing this thing that you chose, and they are all part of the travel experience. I will definitely avoid being the parents who choose it all. Especially at that age where kids are like, nah, I just want this, or maybe no, I don't want what my sister chose. Make travel involve everyone in the planning part. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I love that. Then they feel invested and they're more excited about going, and they know that they had a part of it too. I think that's beautiful. Perfect. Okay, Julie had a question. Can you talk a little bit more about planning versus winging it, and if you needed reservations to go to certain parks or attractions? And how do you think this is changing now since COVID times?
Okay, I am definitely a person that doesn't plan too much for this specific trip. For me, it was good enough to know that we were in this country, that probably we were going to stay for about this length, and what I was going to do the week after. And I know that's not something that many people feel comfortable with doing. So I would say, as long as your budget allows, keep some like frames, but not too tight. Like, okay, maybe I would do this. Perhaps I want to try this. I think winging it completely is also not too wise if you're traveling with kids, like going to a destination and not having reserved a place to sleep, for example. That is something that I will never do with my kids. I don't think so. Like right now, they're babies and I'm tired. I don't want to arrive to Morocco and not even know where I'm going to sleep. And I know this is something that a lot of travelers, solo travelers, are used to doing, because sometimes it is cheaper to book a place once you're in the location, right? But that is something that I am not comfortable with. So I think you can kind of wing it, meaning like you can stretch your planning just like a week or so. I would say balance it out. And then you said how to go. Surprisingly, I don't think I needed any reservations, not even to the Galapagos Islands. Like, honestly, we're going to share some information about like my website and everything, but I have a blog article that I wrote about visiting the Galapagos. And you can totally arrive there just having your Airbnb booked and walk to an agency and book a tour to go snorkel at Kicker Rock in like 2 days or something like that. So not even for a tourist, very touristic destinations like the Galapagos Islands, I needed to have reservations. So let me see if I'm missing something else. So at least for the destinations that I visited, I did not need to have any reservations. If I wanted to do a tour somewhere, I would just contact the people while I was there and plan for like the next couple of days. So I hope that answered everything, Julie. Let me know.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then and if it didn't, Julie, you can just jot it down in the chat box. And then I just dropped her contact info for Instagram, TikTok, website, and then also a link to sign up if you want to talk a little bit about that real quick.
I'm sorry, I was like lost in one question, and I was like, a very good question. Would you repeat that, Laura?
Can you just explain real quick what the link I sent for your landing page, what that is to sign up for, just so they're aware? I just put that in the chat box, and then I'll go back to the questions.
Yes, perfect. So this is basically an invitation for you to be part of my Travel Mom Tribe. You are joining my email list, and this is where I share a lot of resources. I not only talk about family travel, I also talk about travel business and basically everything that is in my world right now. So you can access via this link. There is a Moms Who Travel mini free course that I am creating, and I'm going to be launching it soon. I wish I could offer it to you right now, but it's going to be coming soon. And if you are part of the tribe, you're going to know when this comes up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. So one question was about the prenatal appointments. I know Joe answered a little bit about that and that she had experience in the Netherlands. I actually had my first ultrasound in the UK with my daughter, and it was absolutely amazing, actually. So I don't think it's something you might need to worry about. And I don't know if you had any experience with that, Anna.
I know. That's the question I was reading. I was like, this is such a good question. I have traveled while I was pregnant. This trip where Nala was 8 weeks old, I had just found out I was pregnant. Everything was already packed. I freaked out because I was like, we are going to Southeast Asia with my backpacks and I am pregnant. Like, what do I do? Nothing happened, but I didn't have to go to the doctor or anything. So I don't have any good information regarding this.
Yeah, I mean, we were gone for 6 weeks at that time. So, and I had found out the day before we were leaving, and they were amazing. And actually, it was free. I didn't have to pay anything, which was kind of unheard of. So maybe you should go to the UK or the Netherlands or somewhere if you're pregnant for the first few months. And then in terms of like medical care anywhere else, it's pretty much phenomenal, I think, in all countries. So that Carrie had a question about that. So, and maybe you can talk a little bit about this too, because you were saying you're diabetic. So having a medical emergency in a different country, have you ever had to deal with that, or what are
I've
your
never had a
recommendations?
medical emergency, but I've been very cautious with like my medicine. My insulin was something that I thought about all the time. I knew in Ecuador I could get some without prescriptions, and it was great. I like kept piling on, and then I was surprised to see that in Brazil, in Spain, I was able to just get insulin without needing to see a doctor. So for me, that was super useful. Um, I think when you have kids, this is definitely something that many moms are scared of, just their kids getting sick. So I would definitely suggest having travel insurance. That's like super basic. These are things that we cannot avoid. You can prepare for it, but you just never know when it's going to happen. So before going to any destination, I think any fear that we have around anything can always be mitigated with information. If you know nothing, you're always going to be terrified. But if you start getting some resources, okay, I have health insurance, I have travel insurance, how do I use it, the place where I'm going to, how is the health situation there? So start getting familiar. If you already have accommodations, maybe talk to your host, talk to your hotel contact, like, hey, what's the nearest hospital, have you had something like this happen to you before? So get information from people who are going to be where you're traveling to. So I wish I had like an experience that had happened to me, but luckily I haven't yet.
Yeah, I was going to say it's good you haven't had an experience, but I love your tip on connecting with the locals who you're staying with or whatnot, because they're going to be the ones that know, and they'll have those good recommendations. So I think that's perfect. I think we got everyone's questions. Hopefully I didn't miss any, but I dropped all of her contact info. So if you have any more questions, you can follow along on Instagram or TikTok message, and then definitely sign up. But it was amazing having you on here today. So thank you so much for being here. And then I just have to share my screen real quick to just pop up a couple more things that are coming up with the Nomadic Network, so you all can see this. Okay, so we have a few more events. Obviously, you all are familiar with the calendar, but we have another one coming up on the 2nd, which is 25 ways to make your website work smarter, not harder. And then on the 1st, we have Rolf Potts coming. And this is when we have authors speak, and it's like a virtual book club, which is really fun. So those are great to come to. And then check our calendar for if there's a meetup in an area, a city near you. And it's super fun to just meet other people. So yeah, it's fun to see everyone on these, but it's also fun to connect in person as well. And then group tours, like I mentioned, we have so many of these happening all over the world. So if you're interested in going away, and maybe if you're a family traveler and you want to go and get away from your kids for a little, you could do this too with the group. And that is it. Thank you guys all so much for being here today. And Anna, thank you so much for your presentation. And I can't wait to see where you travel next with your family. And I think Asia would be amazing, or wherever you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you for pushing through this entire presentation. It was a pleasure being with you here, and you're a lifesaver, Laura.
Oh, it was perfect. I realized I did not have it expanded, but whatever, it worked. Hopefully you
It
all
allowed
saw.
me to see what was coming next. So it was perfect.
I realized it afterwards, and I thought, oh, or right in the middle, and I thought, I'm not going to mess with this. We're not touching the screen. It's working as it is.
It was super fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I was so excited. Thank you.
thank you all.